This is another free thought exercise. It's February 14th today, 2025. Um, I have been thinking about going on keto for my mental health because I just recently saw a YouTube video about keto diet is able to put a woman who had schizoaffective disorder into remission for her disorder and get her off her medication, and it has been reported to help people with bipolar, people with ADHD, people with depression, people with anxiety. And so, while I'm not entirely clear on exactly what I suffer from, it's been reported to help people with PTSD. I know I suffer from some kind of mental illness, and I know that my brother says he has schizoaffective. My sister apparently has bipolar. My mom at one point was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but she completely denied having that diagnosis, and I only ever found out about it like 6 months ago from my auntie. And my half brother, where we share the same dad, has schizophrenia. And so, anyways, I'm not even sure exactly what I have, Some doctors told me I don't have schizophrenia, but other doctors put me on antipsychotics. And anyways, the keto diet is supposed to help. There's been studies that are coming out with results that suggest that it is able to really help a lot of people who suffer from those disorders that I mentioned. So it gets me excited and it makes me hopeful. And I just feel really tired right now, by the way. But so for my mental health, I'm hoping to try starting keto. And actually, it's a little bit complicated to go on keto, which might be an understatement depending on, what your experience with keto has been. But I took some notes actually on the keto process from Lauren Kennedy West's video. She's the one she had a YouTube channel called Living Well with Schizophrenia, and then she changed the name to Living Well After Schizophrenia, after she's gone on keto diet, and went into remission for her illness. And I took notes on her video about what she did and how she learned about keto. And I think, kind of right now I feel like sharing those notes, but just some other thoughts. Well, just some general thoughts about it is that it won't be simple and it will be a challenge. I think support system is pretty important. I don't have much of a support system. And you're supposed to find a support system and a care team that knows kind of like about keto, like especially the care team, like mental health professionals. Not a lot of them actually know about keto, about the science behind it, and so a lot of them are skeptical about it. So Yeah, that's called metabolic treatments because keto works on your metabolism. I don't have like a great understanding, but I know that you metabolize, which means that you turn fuel sources into energy in your body, like your cells function off of that. And majority of people metabolize glucose, which is basically like sugars, which come from, your sugars, and then also carbohydrates. I think carbohydrates are like complex sugars. Um, they're like a more complex molecule, but at the end of it, it's still metabolized and turned into a fuel source, kind of like a sugar. A carb just lasts a lot longer than for a fuel source, than if you were to just eat sugar. That gives you a lot of energy really quickly, but it has its costs as well. Whereas a carb stays for a while and lasts as a sugar, as an energy source for longer. But keto works on fat. You metabolize fats mainly. And that's why it's called keto, because you put your body into a state of ketosis, because fats somehow or other give your body ketones to burn as a fuel source. Now, again, I just don't have a ton of information, but I sort of know these broad strokes. So when you go into a state of ketosis, that's when your body is using fats. So keto diet, or some people call it lifestyle, is using like 90% fat in your diet, something like that, something very high percentage of fats. And so, like, I will have to figure out the recipes, and so that's going to take a significant amount of work. And also, like, I already went to the library today to try and find a keto book, but I couldn't find one, even though the computer said that they had them in stock. I looked throughout all the cookbooks, but I didn't find one. But anyway, so that's what the keto diet is basically. And another issue, switching over your sorry, brain is not functioning super well. But another issue is what the heck was I just thinking? Support system is difficult. Switching over and doing the recipes is difficult, but obviously doable. Oh yeah, the beginning stages when your body transitions is like kind of difficult, because the body will go into like a keto flu if you're not careful. And there's ways to avoid the keto flu through supplements and like magnesium, potassium, and one other one, and sodium, and some other tricks and stuff. But so that's something. And yeah, so I mean, I'm hopeful about the keto diet. It's supposed to be a metabolic treatment, so there's sort of like, I don't love going into this way of speaking, but there's a framing thing around it. So rather than keto diet, or calling it a fad, or like, a fad would be really dismissive, but calling it a diet is like one thing, but some people call it like a lifestyle, and some people who are doing it for their mental health, like me, would call it a treatment, because it's similar to taking medicine in that it is supposed to treat an illness. So yeah, being serious about it is important, I think. And I am pretty serious about it because I do believe in science, like scientific studies, and yeah, I just think it's got promise from what I've seen. And monitoring your ketones is another tricky one, because you can kind of tell if your body's in ketosis if you measure your ketones levels, millimole per liter or whatever, in your blood, I think. Or I'm not sure if it's just blood. I know there's like breathalyzer test, there's like urine test, might be something else. And so I have to figure out actually how to measure my ketones without a smartphone, because I think a lot of because I don't use a smartphone. I haven't for 4 months or more, something like that, because I was just so addicted, and I felt it was really bad for my mental health, and it was causing me to sin a lot, especially through just like constant temptation of pornography. And so anyways, I cut it out. I didn't feel like it was like benefiting me. But a lot of these keto trackers, they appear to use an app. They appear to pair to an app on your smartphone. So now I'm thinking about, do I need that? I saw one that's like a breathalyzer test, but I haven't looked deeply into it, but I think some people report that certain ketone level testing devices are more accurate than others. The Lauren Kennedy West video, she said that she used like the blood tracker and one that was a continuous ketone monitor, which was one that fits on your arm, and somehow or other updates your phone every like 4 or 5 minutes with what your ketone levels are. But yeah, I'm excited. I do think that it will be difficult, but I am excited for like the longer term benefits. Like, this is not like a quick thing. It's like, apparently you need to go for like 6 months before you can kind of adequately see if there's a difference and like if it's benefited you. 6 months would be more of a conservative estimate of its of noticing its effects on yourself. But I think it can be helpful. I remember I was listening to hello kitty. RFK Jr. got sworn in by Trump yesterday as the health secretary or something like that, for the USA, and he said that a healthy person has 1,000 dreams and a sick person only has one. And that kind of touches me and makes me feel a little bit emotional, because he's right. Like, I have my whole life almost like has been just trying to be healthy and find something that will help me be healthy. Like, I've been trying to do that so much. And I remember Jesse, I forget his last name, who was like one of the original Nelk boys, and I think now he's got a company called Sunday, but I don't really follow him too much. But I saw like one interview with him, and he struggled with his mental health, and he said that like 99% of your focus is just on getting better when you're like when you're suffering with your mental health, whatever it is, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever illness. Like, it's so true though. And like, I made it to the gym today, but I didn't have like a great workout, and like, I don't know if it's paranoia or whatever, or social anxiety, but I feel like so awkward around people, even if I don't talk to them, and I feel like almost like they're looking at me, or they're judging me, even though like I don't have like great evidence for that. A lot of times when I look up, I'll see someone looking at me. Like, it doesn't happen all the time, but it could just be my perception catches that for some reason, or really highlights it to me. But I kind of will look up and like see people glance at me, and I don't know. It doesn't happen all the time, but it has definitely happened before. But yeah, I don't know if a keto diet would necessarily fix something like that, but it might help my general mental health. And as for support system, my therapist, I have a therapist, I don't know if she knows much about keto, but she's kind of generally supportive in a way, which is good and bad. Because I would like her to be informed about the science and be supportive, because she believes in the reliability and validity of the studies, rather than just her being supportive because I sound excited about it. But I don't know. If the result is the same, that it improves my mental health, it won't matter much either way. Which is funny to me. It's really funny to me. That's really hilarious to me. It's always been funny to me when people are right for different reasons. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say about it. But it's funny. I can't help it. I don't know why it made me think of a joke that this old guy shared before about this guy relaxing, and it was like a video, and he's like lying down on like out in a farm field on a wheat hay bale, or like a haystack, and he's just relaxing all day, and there's this donkey next to him, and this other guy comes and says, do you have the time? And the guy, he's like, oh, and then the donkey's next to him, and he like lifts up the donkey's sack, and then he says, it's 2 p.m. And the guy leaves, and he comes back. He says, hey, do you have the time? And the guy says, oh. He lifts up the donkey's sack. He says, oh, it's 4:30. And then the guy comes back again later, and he says, hey, do you have the time? And the guy says, oh. And he lifts up the donkey's sack, and he says, oh, it's just after 6 o'clock. And the guy's like, how do you know that? And he looks, and the guy lifts up the donkey's sack, and there's a clock tower in the distance behind it. It was just hilarious. I don't know how it fully relates to what I was saying about people being right for different reasons, but it certainly made me think of that joke. Um, so, yeah. Yeah. Oh, another thing I was learning about antipsychotic medications is they actually shrink your brain volume. Um, in some studies, they measured there was shrinkage in people's brain volume. I think specifically or more pronounced in the prefrontal cortex. You know, your executive functioning area. So the ventricles were enlarged. Ventricles are like a fluid-filled space, but in people that had been taking antipsychotics for long periods of time, their ventricles were enlarged, and it was actually more because their brain volume had shrunk. Gray matter and white matter, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but you'd have to refer to the studies to be 100% accurate. But I think that's what it was. It was either gray matter and white matter or both that shrunk. But yeah, so I don't love being on antipsychotics, and especially long term. And also, there's a risk of tardive dyskinesia, which is basically like shaking or involuntary things. Like some people, they do like cheek puffing, or I think, I don't know. Yeah, it's just involuntary behaviors. Could be shakes, but I don't want to get that. And I have been weaning off of one of my antipsychotics, and I don't know if I'll be going off the other one, but we'll see how this keto diet affects me. But yeah, so that's most of what I had to say today. Anyways, that's all for now.